Good luck, son.
The Frenchman, the Female, and the Man Called Mother's Milk. The penultimate episode of The Boys Season 5 was named after one of the earliest chapters of the comic book series that inspired it. But its tone and content was entirely different. Where the comics introduced those characters, the show depicted their end. Well, at least one of their ends. Spoiler warning for those who haven't watched the episode yet, but Tomer Capone won't be returning for the series finale. And right now, the man everyone has their eyes on is Antony Starr. But what will his character do in the final episode of The Boys? And is there any hope for a better world? Those are the questions we'll be attempting to answer today. So without further ado, these are our predictions for The Boys Season 5, Episode 8 Explained.
Welcome to use this office as long as you need.
I know.
The Purge. At the beginning of Episode 7, we saw Homelander in the Oval Office handing out a bunch of decrees to late President Calhoun and current President Barrett. Some of those were classic parody statements, like asking them to ban the use of anything apart from breast milk for nursing of children and completely banning formula. But the others were highly disconcerting, because they're the setup for something we've been anticipating since Season 1, a complete and utter purge. Homelander asked the presidents to dissolve Congress, make the Democratic Church of America the official state religion of America, and send in troops to sanctuary states that had decided to admit and protect Starlighters. This isn't another pressure tactic, this is Homelander setting up a purge. One king, one god, one country. That's going to become the motto of America if he has his way, and right now it looks like he just might. Homelander has won every battle he's fought after all. Ashley is teetering on the edge of madness and has decided not to listen to her moral backface. If she dissolves Congress like Homelander suggested, then he'll be the one in charge of, well, everything. And we already know how he treats dissidents, even within his own power base. He instructed O-Father to kill 24 of his most loyal followers just because they didn't truly believe he was the Lord and Savior. So what will he do to people who truly don't believe in him? The answer is quite simple. He'll be turning that hallucination from back when he first joined Victoria Newman on stage into reality. And in case you don't recall what we're talking about, let's jog your memories. It involved Homelander lasering thousands of people to death in the public eye. This was back when Homie didn't know he had the option to do so. Now he does. He's seen that no matter what crime he commits, no matter whether he lasers someone's brains out on Fifth Avenue or flies through a flight full of people, there will always be someone standing behind him. So he's going to take to the sky to help those troops he's deployed and purge Starlighters from this world himself. This will also open the door to the climatic battle we've all been waiting for, which we will be getting to by the end of this video, so don't go anywhere. But if you guys aren't expecting a mass slaughter event in the finale of the bloodiest superhero story ever written, then we're sorry to say this, but you're blind optimists. O-Father will turn on Homelander or be killed by him. This is a prediction that we can't quite put our stamp on fully, but do think is going to be relevant in the finale. Given O-Father's position within Homelander's inner circle, throughout Season 5, O-Father has proven to be his most crucial ally. He's the man who's making the Democratic Church of America work, despite its blasphemous message and that ridiculous dance routine he's concocting as we speak. He's the reason that Homelander still has a support base in all red states, and he's the reason that Homelander's proclamation of godhood has made any kind of progress towards actually being accepted by the people. But Homie has been killing people for things that aren't even displays of incompetency of late, and O-Father just messed up big time. He was supposed to lead a test screening of a video where Jesus would hand over his crown to Homelander and proclaim him the new savior of the world, weed out the true believers and kill the rest. But while he managed to do the first two, he failed to accomplish the third, thanks to Starlight and MM. Now those people are free in the wild, and they were the staunchest Homelander supporters before this failure unfolded. If his own supporters start turning on him, what use does he have of a preacher who can't convince his flock to be faithful to their Lord? O-Father calls Homelander Lord, and he might even believe it because that's what he says to Annie when she confronts him. But he was willing to give those supporters a working over to proselytize and truly open their ears to their new Lord's message. Whereas Homelander's response was to just kill them all, and O-Father isn't a fool to not see the kind of precedent this sets. If his lord is willing to take 1 out of 5 believers and kill the rest, then the flock they'll be leading to heaven will be as small as it will be volatile. And Father has always been a religious man at heart, despite how he's using that religion presently. In the comics, he was one of the key architects of Homelander's attack on the White House, which might still happen in the show if President Ashley Barrett decides to grow a spine. But if it doesn't, and if Father realizes the true nature of the kind of world he's helping build, then there's only 2 things that can happen. Either he sticks with Homie for his own survival, or he turns against him and dies, and his survival is only guaranteed insofar as he can convert people to the red, white, and blue faith, the metrics for which aren't looking as exciting as he'd hoped they would. Will the boys break out Soldier Boy? Series creator Eric Kripke once told us that by the time Season 5 ended, Homelander will have done something so heinous that none would be able to look at him and find a single redeeming quality. Somehow we doubt that he was talking about him putting his father back on ice, because that's exactly what he did in Episode 7. After getting V1, Homelander has become unstoppable and immortal, but he still craves his father's love. When Soldier Boy tells him that he only helped him because he loved Stormfront, a perfect setup for Vought Rising, by the way, Homie realizes that no amount of veneration or ticker tape parades would make Soldier Boy like him, so he chokes him out and puts him back in hibernation. But not before something interesting is revealed about Ben's thoughts on all that is happening. Before he's decommissioned, Ben tells his son that he's not a god. This reveals his true perception of Homelander. He may be proud of him after a fashion, but he doesn't think he's what the world needs, which is why he himself wanted to go down to Bogota. When he confronted Homie, there was a moment when it looked like they might fight, and we saw genuine fear in Homelander's eyes. That's because he knows Soldier Boy is the only one who can kill him, as evidenced by the fact that he made him bleed with a single backhand. And that's not even talking about the radiation blast he keeps in his chest, which was a major plot point for Episode 7. Turns out Butcher and Frenchie were working on recreating the experiment that gave Soldier Boy his ability to fry Compound V out of soup systems, and their test subject was none other than Kimiko. They were somewhat close to achieving that goal by the end of the episode, thanks to Sage, who was pulled out of her lobotomized stupor via a shared love of Love Island between her and Frenchie. But when Frenchie told Homelander they'd succeeded in irradiating Kimiko, he was gambling. We know she needed to be in that chamber for 1 full minute after readjusting the experiment to crack the code, but Frenchie pulled the plug. Even if she has a diminished version of Soldier Boy's power, it won't be enough to stop Homelander, and they all know it. The only true nuclear option left in their bag is if Ashley reclaims her spirit for justice and orders a direct strike on Homelander. But that's looking less and less likely, so the only real option for them to stop Homelander in a way that it works is to break Soldier Boy out of his pod once again. This will be the riskiest mission of their lives, and they'll be trusting someone who has gone out of his way to harm them, but it is possible. One of the biggest plot points of Episode 7 was Homelander's preparation for his unveiling as God. He will eventually have to leave Vought Tower to make that happen, and when he does, Sage can use her smarts to get the boys in. With everything that's happened, Soldier Boy might just be amenable to finally taking his son down, despite it not being what Clara wanted, because for once, he'll have to stand up and face the objective truth. Homelander is a maniac who can never be the perfect being. He's barely a functional being, and laying hands on him was the last mistake he should have made. So while the chances of the boys teaming up with Soldier Boy are slim, they aren't none, and right now it's their best shot at ensuring they don't risk millions of lives in the process. Whether this actually happens or not remains to be seen, but we can't imagine Soldier Boy being a permanent icicle as the world around him moves on. He's a liability that will need to be addressed at some point, and if father and son take each other out during an all-out battle, the better it is for the world at large. Marie Moreau regains control over her powers. There's another option when it comes to taking down Homelander permanently, but as it turns out, the reason we haven't seen it come into play so far is because it isn't exactly working. Marie Moreau is a god-tier soup just like her fellow Odessa baby, but Episode 7 revealed that she can no longer control her powers. This is both mysterious and a damn shame, because the finale of Gen V proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that she was more than capable of killing him if she wanted to. So why has she lost control? Our best guess is that she's experiencing exactly what her idol was going through a couple of seasons ago, that which Butcher so eloquently described as not being able to get it up. Marie's mind might be under incredible amounts of stress and self-doubt because those were the factors affecting Annie's loss of power too, and when she was told to go home after giving her information about Ofather's movements, that self-doubt and stress would have only increased. But at the end of the episode, Annie shows up at the safe house where Marie and Jordan are laying low, and she asks them for their help. This could just be the spark that reignites Blood Mage's control over her own powers, because that's how Annie got out of her rut. And if that happens, then the boys might not even need Soldier Boy to stop Homelander. Yes, he'll be the perfect ace in the hole for them, but Marie has torn apart Thomas Godolkin in the past, and she wasn't even trying. But here's the thing, Homelander has V1 in him now. He's been upgraded to a level where her power might not even affect him the way it should, but at least she'll be able to hold him back to an extent. Marie has become a crucial asset at this juncture in the series because without her, the boys' cause is truly lost. As for Jordan Lee, Marie's tanky partner can help stall their mutual enemies, but we're not sure for how long. Homelander now has nearly all accused and convicted psychic criminals in the United States working for him, and there's no doubt in our minds that he will be surrounding himself with them in the final episode. Maybe they can pull off a Huey and reverse psychic the psychics, or perhaps this is where Kate enters the scene and becomes their psionic blocker, like the Emma Frost to all those evil Professor X's. Either way, we think that a Gen B reunion in the last episode won't be worth a damn if Marie's powers don't start working properly again, and so we're predicting that they will. Blood, Bone, and the Dawn of a New Seven. The title of the finale refers to the dialogue between Homie and Butcher that set up this whole game in the first place, and we do think that they're going to reach the finish line before it's all said and done. The way we see it playing out is something like this. Homelander goes on his purge. Ashley sends a nuke to stop him. She fails, so he turns up at the White House to kill her. After he does that, Butcher and his team either bring Soldier Boy or Marie or Ryan, or some combination of those three characters to finally finish him off. Considering they're the only ones with the power to do that, we're hoping for a recreation of that iconic scene from the comics where Butcher crowbars Black Noir's brains out because it's the one that will satisfy audiences the most. Plus, if launching a nuke on DC or American soil isn't an option for the showrunners, then the three characters we just mentioned are the next closest thing to it. What we don't think will happen is Butcher going around killing the boys because one of them has already died, and he had no hand in it. Frenchie's death has broken the pattern of him killing his own team members, and only Kimiko has Compound V in her veins right now. The rest, minus Starlight, are all humans, and she herself has had her role in the story expanded far beyond the scope of her original character. Starlight may or may not play a part in killing Homelander in the finale, considering her powers aren't nearly as strong as his skin is, but she will play a part in the future of this franchise. For the longest time, Annie January has tried avoiding her reality as the first and only true superhero in this universe, but that could change at the end of episode 8. She might want to ride off into the sunset with Huey like she did in the comics, but something tells us that MM's speech about why he is called Mother's Milk has gotten to her. This perfectly coincides with the fact that Homelander also dissolved the Seven in this episode because it won't need to be reinstated. It will need a complete systematic overhaul. And Starlight and her band of heroic defenders are the prime candidates for leading the world into a new era, where soups aren't vehicles for branding and revenue, they're actual heroes. There's a reason the soup virus was dropped from the narrative, and that reason is that the show didn't want to condone genocide as a means to an end. So if all soups can't be killed, then what's the best path forward for them? Well, all soups can be reformed, and Starlight is the best person to do that. Annie January from the show is way different to her comic book counterpart because she relishes responsibility, and so we're predicting that the boys will end with the dawn of a new Seven. This organization will be independent of Vought's corrupting influence in our opinion, and operate more like the Justice League than Lord Core. But that's just our opinion. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below because we're pretty sure you guys have opinions on the predictions we've made as well. Like, share, and subscribe for more The Boys content, and we'll be seeing you guys real soon with yet another video. Until then, stay safe, peace out.